it is time to reveal our Week 7 spotlight games. We will go in depth on a lot of these. The first one we're not going to go very in depth on. So I think, as many of you have probably seen, this first game is an incredible matchup across the state. Richland Royals taking on the Denton Ryan Raiders. There has been some unfortunate news come out of Denton Ryan earlier today. Of the unexpected passing of defensive coordinator Aaron De La Torre. We have a brief write-up on it on TexasFootball.com that you are more than welcome to go check out. We do not know the status of this game. We do know as of right now it is continued or expected to kick off on Friday at its scheduled time. If that is the case, we will have that game as a spotlight game. If they were to cancel and or delay the game, completely up to them, we will adjust accordingly. So if this game happens on Friday, we will make sure that we have it as a spotlight game, but that is up in the air right now after the unexpected passing of Aaron De La Torre. But all right, moving on to our next spotlight game. This one, a banger in the DFW, as Arlington Seguin takes on Argyle.
Hello, Arlington Seguin.
Yeah, this is a program that has not seen this level of success darn near ever.
No.
Especially under their current head coach. 5 wins is the most that they have had.
Coach Gordon, Joe Gordon. He was I don't want to get this wrong. I'm just going to say very vague. He was a coach at Arlington High School when I was there.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
I don't think I realized that.
Yeah, so we actually played Arlington Seguin for the first 2 years of when I was there. So my freshman and sophomore year, because they were in 6A. And then, of course, realignment came my third year there at Arlington High School, and they dropped down to 5A. So they've been playing in Class 5A ever since that season. But yeah, Coach Joe Gordon, he used to coach at Arlington High School.
That is too funny.
Yeah.
I didn't realize
so
that.
It's awesome to see how much success that he has brought to that program. So very, very happy for him.
So Arlington Seguin, obviously one of the newer programs in Arlington ISD. First football season was 2004. They have had 1 9-win season. That was in their second season in 2005. They have never had double-digit wins in a season. Under Coach Gordon, since he took over in 2017, the largest sum of wins that they have had in a season was last year when they went 5-4. So a winning season was one to be celebrated. Well, the Cougars are off to a 5-1 start, and it's not over anybody. They have wins over Red Oak, Burleson, Grapevine, the Colony, which I think is a better team than people give them credit for. Coach Gordon's squad has come out ready to play, and this one is going to be a huge one out of District 3, 5A Division 2 as they take on their district bunkmate in Argyle. The Eagles are high-flying. They're looking good, coming off a huge win last week, and then Arlington Seguin coming off of a loss for the first time. We thought that they were going to have their way with Mansfield Timberview. That didn't end up happening. So they're looking for a bounce-back win, and this will be their toughest test in what looks to likely shore up what a district championship would be. Mansfield Summit at 3-0 probably has something to say about that, but those three definitely in the upper echelon of district play right now.
I'd have to agree. Did you know that Argyle has a 6'9", 325-pound offensive lineman?
I say it every time, but how do you feed that?
Yeah,
how
I don't
do
know.
you feed a human of that size?
I don't know, but
like,
that
I can eat a lot. There's no way.
Yeah.
There's no way.
That here's spoiling the surprise here. Well, not really a surprise, but I guess I'm having our intern Sam make an offensive line big boys up front graphic for Argyle because even the tight end's huge. Like that offensive line is huge. That's scary.
Rocks. As my favorite way that his Powers is like an O-line aficionado, but my favorite way that he describes them is the big nasties up front. I love that.
And guess what we're doing on Cruton Corner this week, which we're going to be doing live, by the way.
Live Cruton Corner.
Offensive lineman.
Yeah, that's a good note. Ishmael Johnson not on this week for Texas Football Tonight, but our very own Greg Powers on to talk all things recruiting. So incredibly excited about that. All right, let's head down to the Houston area. A big district matchup in 9 5A Division 1 as the Eagles of Barber's Hill take on the Titans of Port Arthur Memorial. Both teams knotted up at 4-2 on the season. Both at 1-1 in district play. So last week, Port Arthur Memorial took an absolute romping against Galveston Ball.
Yeah.
41-10. We had that one circled as one that we thought gave the nod to Galveston Ball, but would be much more competitive. I don't know if that says more about Port Arthur, if it says more about Galveston Ball. I'm going to lean towards saying I was more impressed with Galveston Ball than disappointed by Port Arthur Memorial.
I'm going to lean that same way, and it's all because of Jonah Williams. He's just a freak. He's a freak show.
If he's the straw that stirs the drink is like...
Oh, it's tornadoing.
Yes, exactly. Which, Galveston Ball tornadoes, potato.
Let's cut that. That was great. That was really good. And I didn't intentionally say that.
No.
It just happened.
It just happened.
That's why we get each other.
You know what? We're here. Carl Absek off to a hot start with Barber's Hill. They're going through just as usual. 2 losses, one coming a 2-point loss to Deer Park, and then a disappointing showing, I would say, against Lufkin. But Lufkin, a very good program. So excited to see that one. Staying down in that neck of the woods, how about Silsbee taking on Hampshire Frenet in one that I know that we're very excited to see. Obviously, we've noticed Silsbee has not fallen off since Draylon Miller. I think that we've talked about that so much. Like, now we have our data set of going, no, this is just a good team.
I agree with you, but that Hitchcock loss is... It's kind of the same thing with the Galveston Ball Port Arthur Memorial. Does that say more about how freaking talented that this Hitchcock squad really is, or does that say that, like, oh, has Silsbee actually kind of fallen off? Because you could say that is kind of their first real test of the season, right?
Which is funny that you bring that up, because the Hampshire Frenet Longhorns also only have 1 loss on the season, and that was a 71-48 loss at Hitchcock. So
Hitchcock be rolling.
Again, it's like, I don't think that neither of these teams are bad teams by any stretch of the means. I think Hitchcock just might
really
be
good.
Good.
I completely agree with you.
You got to remember, that's them punching up
a
classification on both, punching up a division rather. So this one, I think, again, likely to decide the district championship, although West Orange Stark off to a 4-1 start as well. So an interesting little 3-way match going between those two teams. But this will be the early receipts, because if Hampshire Frenet was to win this one, then their date with West Orange Stark would be in week 11, and could very well, if West Orange Stark again could have their way with Silsbee. So this is a very interesting district. District 9 4A Division 2 is a lot of fun, and there is nothing that I love more than a potential district championship being decided in the week 11 matchup.
Yeah, and I think that's what it's going to come down to. I completely agree.
Absolutely. So we move now from the greater Houston area. How about we go to Waco / Temple? We're going to Temple, technically.
Waco, America.
We're going to the greater Super Syntax.
Waco, America.
Waco, America. One of our
favorite places to be.
Shout
out Putters.
Shout out Putters. How is this the first time that Putters has been... It can't be the first time that Putters has been brought up on WTF.
For those of you that don't know Putters, you're missing out. Go to Waco just for Putters. Like, go to a Baylor game and stuff, but, like, go to Putters.
Mainly go for Putters. So Waco Midway taking on Temple. If you would have told me that the Temple squad that went 1-9 last year was going to be off to this hot start, I would have been like, ain't no way.
And I want to give myself a shout out.
Okay.
Because
here with a pat on her own back is Miss Mallory Hartley.
Because at the beginning of the season, before a game was even played in the 2024 season, I said on this podcast that I think Temple is going to be a district contender because that defense is good.
It is so good.
Yeah.
So good. Step dropped a nugget on Tep and Step. Yep. That one feel good? Oh, now we're hitting microphones. Our pets' heads are falling off. Speaking of pets' heads falling off, on Tep and Steph the other day, Matt Stepp was like, did you know that the defensive coordinator at Temple was the former Tyler Junior College ball? And I was like,
no, I didn't know
dude,
that.
You're sick in the head.
No,
Tep and Step is sick in the head. This podcast has to be stopped. WTF, your place to go for Texas high school football, not Tep and Step.
The new nerdcast of
Subscribe,
Texas
but like
football.
Not for Tep and Step.
No.
I hope Matt Stepp is somewhere punching air right now. Anyway, Hewitt Midway and Temple playing. This one should be really fun. How does Midway's offense react to a stout Temple defense. That's where your eyes are going.
I was going to say, this is a great matchup of two really good defenses, because if you'll remember, Joe Gillespie, the former defensive coordinator at TCU, took over as the head coach at Waco Midway. So obviously a really, really good Temple defense, like we just mentioned, against a defensive-minded head coach. Like, that's fun.
No, it'll be a blast. So excited to see that one. And finally, we travel out east. This one I am excited for a couple of different reasons. And I think it's because I don't feel as great about both teams as I expected to at this point in the year. So Demetrius Brisbane still out, we think, from the injury. But Demetrius Brisbane still out, which gives Chapel Hill's offense...
It takes away the run game a little bit, too.
Takes it down here, okay? Going up against a Kilgore squad that if you would have asked me prior to last week, I would have said, oh, I'm taking Kilgore hands down in this one. Kilgore goes out and loses to Henderson last week. Now, this is a Henderson squad that I think is better than maybe some would anticipate them being. But that's a bad loss if you're Kilgore. You don't go out and do that, especially because it was at home. You don't drop a home game to Henderson.
No.
So I don't know what to make of that. I think that this is going to be Chapel Hill going out and doing what they do. They're going to continue to rely on Ricky Stewart a lot. Their defense is going to have to be good to stop this Kilgore offense. But if you're Kilgore, this needs to be a bounce-back game. You can't let two of these fall. From a team that looked so good, beating Carthage in week 1 of the season, don't let this be your crux. I think they have a second loss to Gilmer. It was a 2-point loss. That's a good matchup. That's just an all-around good matchup. Gilmer has had its fits and struggles, but Beast Texas is a roller coaster right now, and all of these teams, as good as they are just beating the crap out of each other.
Yeah, and I think Chapel Hill, if you're Chapel Hill, you really need this win because you close out the season with Longview Pine Tree and then the aforementioned Henderson. So you kind of need this win if you're Chapel Hill, you know?
All right, so there you go. Those are our spotlight games for Dave Campbell's Texas Football tonight, the 7th episode of this season. Excited for that.